It's a library of all creation, all universes, all consciousnesses, every reality you have ever been in. When a species wants to do DNA upgrades, they will go into the library to discover what they need for their own species. The library has everything.
They didn't learn this new skill. It's like it immediately merged back into their system, and then they were able to do it like if they were doing it since they were 2 years old.
This is the ascension of the human. It has always been planned. There was a de-ascension of the human thousands and thousands of years ago, and this is the cycling back up.
Within this next year, there's going to be a massive acceleration of the ascension process when one person starts opening themselves up to their evolution, to their codes, to this ascension process. What is happening? What is rippling out?
It has been conditional programming from the beginning of the human civilization. It's been a control structure the entire time. A lot of the other species who evolve rapidly don't have these stories, but they're also connected.
Before today's transmission, I wanted to take a minute to let you in on something that could change your life. If you've been doing the inner work and still feel like you're walking this path alone, you're not the only one. Most spiritual spaces give you endless content to consume, but not a tribe to grow with. That's why we created The Deep Dive, a living spiritual ecosystem designed to help you grow in community, rhythm, and real embodiment. Right now, our members are embarking on a journey exploring a core spiritual and practical teaching through daily activations, live community gatherings guided by me and our facilitators, and also participating in sacred challenges that are designed to help you live your practice and bring it to life. You'll be surrounded by seekers and leaders who've decided that they're done doing this work in isolation. If you're ready to find your people, visit the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen right now, and I'll see you inside. Ken Lloyd, welcome on Just Tap In. What are you most excited about right now globally and in your life?
I'm in a point of transition, which excites me. So what I mean by that is, as I move through my own experience, I can shift and change. And this has been a 7-year journey from my trauma event. And literally right now, I've entered a 0 point in my life. So all the old has been released. And now I'm moving into this new version of me with my team as one. So what gets me excited is when I look at everything that the team, and I may say I, but the team has done for hundreds of thousands of people already. And I look at what is coming from the team, I'm beyond words of what's about to take place from these divine energies. So what gets me excited is showing up for my job.
Love that. And I know timing is never just a coincidence. There's always a divine plan behind the timing of these things. You mentioned your traumatic event back in 2016. And so I wanted to look out the bigger picture of this collective transition that you see humanity going through. Obviously, you had a very spontaneous upgrade all of a sudden, going from the corporate world, entrepreneurship world, and then all of a sudden this lit up for you. That is happening to a lot more people, and I'm seeing it in my field as well. What do you believe is the out picture of this, the backdrop that's being formed for humanity going into this bigger transition that we're all heading into?
So as you talk, the team kind of fills me in on stuff, and they're off to my right, but it's the idea of we're all releasing the old and we're all moving into the new. And it's very turbulent for us when this happens, in the idea that everything that we thought we knew is getting ready to shift and change. Now, whether you're talking about disclosure, whether you're talking about discovering who you are, whether you're a star seed or whether you're divine energies, whatever those things are, we're discovering who we are. We're waking up to the idea that we've kind of been in a haze and a fog for thousands of years on what's happening. So we are being pulled into this new arena, and we are being bombarded with information and ideas and thoughts and perspectives from all sorts of different areas, right? And we all subscribe to a certain belief system or understanding or ideology, which is beautiful. But what's happening here from my team's perspective is that while we're all excited about what's coming, and I call these our neighbors out there coming to introduce themselves, my team wants to remind everyone that we're divine and to not lose what we have inside of us to yet another narrative or another story, which is our narrative and story. But they're like, don't forget how important you are on the inside. So this is what my team emphasizes: be everything you want to be, but don't forget who you really are.
And when you say who we really are, I believe that you're referring to the wider soul or higher self that actually for you started coming more into the body, representing a template that the new human is heading into. I would love if we could go really deep on that process for you and what actually happened to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we started off a little bit ago, my background was no religion and no spirituality. I was 47 when I was in my third cybersecurity company. I'm one of the original authors of antivirus and anti-spyware, and I did it in my pajamas in my bedroom, right? That was me, serving millions of people with the understanding of how to create a business around it. So I'm in my third company, my third acquisition, actually, during the acquisition process to a Silicon Valley company. And I'm angry. I'm really angry. Did not have a friendly business partner, right? And not only am I angry, but I'm addicted to energy drinks. And I'm also on high doses of ADHD, going on a little bit of sleep. So I found myself, I learned the word later, triggered, right? I found myself triggered from the business partner, which is an everyday thing. And I laid down in the bed. I'm like, I need to calm down. And no sooner did I lay in the bed that my stomach arched up in the air like an upside down letter U, like it was a crazy posture. And I was electrified and frozen in position. I wasn't able to move. Now, this didn't take very long. I recall 3 to 4 minutes, but I could feel this heat in the abdomen and I could feel the swirling of energy. And then it just popped out of me and I passed out. And I woke up the next day peaceful. So what had happened that moment, and I didn't know it for years later, because it's the idea of having a near death, but this was a trauma release. All the trauma that was held in my cellular structure, I wouldn't say all of it, let's just say 90% of it or more through my years, was released, raising my frequency up drastically. And when that happened, if you could think of the idea of having a near death where the tunnel opens, you go over, you have an amazing epiphany, a conversation, you're instantly healed, whatever those things are. I didn't have any of that. But you could use the analogy of the tunnel opening and a soul aspect coming through and coming into my field behind me. Didn't know that took place. In fact, I didn't know anything. But what happened is when I woke up that next morning, I found myself on the internet. And that changed everything in what just happened to me. What was this energy? And I later understood that the things I was Googling, right, the things that I was beginning to enter into was this soul aspect behind the scenes. You could say gently whispering in my ear, wasn't no words or anything, but hey, you should figure out this is, right? You should go read this book. You should go see the psychic. You should go have this hypnosis done, right? You should go detox. And this went on for about 2 years. And when you're an entrepreneur, especially a self-starter entrepreneur, you have this passion and this excitement inside of you, right? Every ounce of energy, every mental thought is about how do I create this business? Well, all of that changed. I was no longer interested in computers, completely uninterested in computers. And every ounce of mental power I had was figuring out what took place. Now, it took me a while, but as I started doing the detoxing, as I started to learn how to do the basic meditation and quieting, I started having my own journeys. Now, I don't have journeys today, but I did then. I met people who helped me understand how to do the multidimensional traveling, if you will, right? Dropping in and going to this planet and doing this thing. And that was fun, but I thought it was all imagination. Well, it wasn't really happening. And it took me years to realize my imagination was the reality that was being created. Now, as we go through the 7-year journey, the first couple years was them getting my body ready for more, them preparing my mind for more, and releasing the old in very, very small ways, right? Company was sold. I moved into the new company that, when you sell a company, you work for that new company, right? And you get to write your contract. So life was really good. But I lost all interest in that new company as well. In fact, I was just showing up completely blank on what do I do now? So as I'm going through this, I'm now perceiving what's happening with the company, with the people around me, understanding the emotions that were there and not understanding that. But one day, this woman, I met her on the internet. She says, "Hey, do you know you're a walk-in?" I'm like, "I'm a what?" She goes, "You're a walk-in." So the universe has an interesting way of putting people in front of us at the right time to give us just enough information to go pursue more. So sure enough, within weeks, I stumbled across an interview about a woman who was talking about her walk-in experience, and she had wrote a book. I bought the book and I had an interview with her, and she confirmed I was a walk-in. So at that time, a walk-in, there are a couple different versions of walk-ins. There's what's called a soul exchange. So as I just mentioned previously, the idea of the tunnel opening up, you going over, well, a soul exchange is where one comes in and you leave and you slap each other a high five on the way through. I love my analogies, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a complete exchange. And when the new soul comes in, your life is disrupted because the new soul it has the memories in the body, but it doesn't know the job. It doesn't know the family. And it's there to remove that and move into its next phase for whatever. Usually walk-ins, not usually, but walk-ins are usually high vibrational soul aspects coming in to do something, whether it be for themselves or for, well, the world. Now, that's a soul braid. I had one in me at the time. Then as I'm moving forward, I had read a book on energy healing and, I did my Reiki, but that's it. And I'm practicing on friends and family and they're saying, yeah, I'm feeling it. Red flags are going up, right? Like, come on, this isn't really happening. But by April 1st, 2023, I was doing events, right? So that was just a little over 2.5 years ago, roughly, from this interview. I was doing events in Sarasota, Florida. For hundreds of people in the audience, calling them out of the audience, healing them. And I thought this was amazing. In fact, I left my corporate job to do this. And on April 1st, 2023, I had a woman do a session on me. 13 more came in, well, 12 more came in at that time. So I had 13 soul aspects in my field. And I'm like, what is this? These are what they call soul braids. These soul aspects, and they're not full souls, by the way, right? These are just aspects to think about a soul giving you into your field, the tool from the toolbox, but not the whole toolbox. They come in with certain tools to do certain things. So there's 13 in my field, and I wasn't talking to them. I didn't have any awareness that there were 13 in the field. But as soon as they came in, everything amplified. Right. My visuals started getting stronger. My healing started getting stronger. And again, I say but it's them, right? I'm just a vessel. And wow. So we fast forward on the journey, December 12th, 23. So just a few days ago, my 2-year anniversary, I call it. I get this little message in my head. I'm sitting in the living room and it says, you need to go meditate now. It's like 8:00 at night. I'm like, okay, who are you and why? And so I go into my little meditation room. I drop in, and the moment I sit in my chair, my body is frozen again. As I say, I couldn't itch, I couldn't twitch. And the crown lights up. This massive energy starts coming down, and now I'm asking questions like, hey, what is going on? Who are you? And I get the message, we're a little busy right now. We'll get with you in a moment. And I'm like, okay. And at that very moment, they turned off my ability to ask questions. So what is the goal in meditation often? For that quiet. Well, I had that, not necessarily by choice. That lasted for 15 minutes, right? Wow. It was an amazing experience. My life changed after that drastically. So that was the moment the higher self stepped into the field, into the structure. And I started getting conversations taking place. And December 12th, so by January 6th, about 3 weeks later, I was asking for a divorce. So I had been married for 17 years, beautiful woman, beautiful life, beautiful stuff, right? I had done pretty good in life. By March, I had sold everything. House was up for sale, and I was in Mexico. I was never been out of the country, right? Like, I don't speak Spanish. I don't know what I'm doing. I find myself in Playa del Carmen for a week, and then went to Jalapa, Mexico for a month for integration. In Jalapa, there are no vehicles. There's horses, donkeys, and four-wheelers. Jalapa, very spiritual place. I had 9 more come into my field. Now, that put the number at 22. We were counting back then. We don't count today, right? And I'm like, well, what is going on?
Right.
So more integration took place, stronger healing. And by this time, my body's vibrating, right? The idea of you being able to feel every cell in your body like a tuning fork, all right? All the way into the bone marrow and about an inch outside of the body. Now, not the whole body. It was the hands. It was the feet, right? It was just kind of the extremities. And as I move through my journey, that vibration increases. Even today, I don't sleep well, right?
A lot of melatonin.
Me and melatonin have a relationship. But as the energy moves into the chest, right now it's full body, right? They continue to augment my cellular structure. This is the new human, by the way. I'm accelerating what the new human's going to look like in physical form, right? So not everyone has to go through this really uncomfortable things that I have to go through. Some people do, but the energy is intense. And as what happens here is the team will come in and they'll up-level me, to use that word, right? For 3 or 4 weeks, it's intense. And then it finally levels out. The body adjusts. Then they turn the voltage up. The body adjusts. The higher the frequencies the body can hold, the closer they can come into the field. So we fast forward now to July last year, 2024. And I get the message, Ken, you need to go do Cambo and Bufo. I don't like that stuff. I don't like the hallucinogens. I don't like the out of control feeling, but at this point, I'm in complete trust of what's taking place. So in the morning, I do the Cambo, which is the little dots on the arm, the frog poison. And, you purge, and that opens up the cells of the body. It's like a rapid detox is how I would explain it. And by the way, folks, even though I had read these books about spirituality in the beginning, all that knowledge is gone. I couldn't tell you a single process. I couldn't tell you the best way to meditate. Like, I don't have process. What I do have are codes and energy, which shift you. But so we get the message to do Cambo. And in 2 hours, I'm doing the Bufo. What an incredible experience I never want to have again.
Right? One time is enough. We're good.
Yeah. One time was enough. And it was beautiful. Like I literally, I recorded the whole thing. I'm laying there flat. I never twitched. It was amazing. But, I'm out of it for 10 or 15 minutes, whatever that was. Don't know where I went, but it was a kaleidoscope of bright lights where I thought I needed sunglasses in the dark tent in Tulum. But I'm coming out of it and I'm in this tent and I see 22 shards of light around me. Like I could see figures, but then to my right, look like a solid 3D person, right? And I'm opening my eyes and he's still there. And I'm closing my eyes. I'm opening my eyes. I'm like, what is going on? And the two messages they gave me was your 24th chromosome's now online. Didn't know what that was. That was a Google later, right? And then it was like, everything you have done, Ken, was the sniff of the aroma of what's about to come.
For you or for humanity?
For me and humanity, as I learn more about it. Now I'm like, come on. I'm doing this amazing stuff now. Again, me, them, doing this amazing stuff now. The healings are happening almost instantly. And they're like, no, there's more coming. So then I come back from Tulum. So this is just a year and a half ago. And I find myself in Colorado, February of this year, January of this year. And I wake up in February. I can't move my body again. Not only that, but I have no emotions. Now, it's not like this place where you're like, no emotions. They were gone. And it's very, very different to not have any emotions. And what had happened is I would woke up in the middle of the team, replacing all of the energy centers in my body, removing them and installing new ones. It was as if I was a puppet and the strings were cut. So the way I look at it, and I'm the average guy, they're replacing the 110 with the 240 dryer voltage. Mm-hmm. They were increasing my ability to hold more energy. That was intense. Once I came out of it, 4 or 5 hours later, I'm able to move and animate again, and I'm kind of regaining a little more awareness of what's taking place, but then they amp the body up. And for the next few months, the vibration was just unbelievable. I mean, I was begging for relief. And the only relief I can get is to eat food. For whatever reason, when I eat food, like all that energy goes into the digestive process. So me and food became friends. Mm-hmm. What had happened between then, when they moved the energy centers out, and to when the next event in June, and by the way, I need to clarify something. In the event in Tulum with the Bufo, those 22, when they opened up the cells of the body, and I had an ego death, I saw the ego walking out, they merged into my field. I went from what was called a soul braid to a soul infusion walk-in. I am merged with those energies. Now, again, understand these aren't full souls. They're just tiny aspects. These are all divine energies that are in the physical structure in the field. So here we go. This year's been incredible. And I wake up to this voice in my head in June. I'm in Frisco. I'm at 9,200 feet elevation. And for those of you that didn't realize this, I didn't realize this, but these higher elevations in those strong mineral deposits amplify what's happening. Hmm. So I get this message that says, I'm here. I'm like, who are you? He's like, you know who I am. He says, just call me buddy. Well, this was an aspect, a single spark aspect of the great divine director. Now, who is that? Not much on the internet. And I'd received messages years prior that you're going to have this energy coming in that has never been written down in form before. And of course, I'm like, yeah, right. Well, I have people in my life that help me understand what's happening. And they had confirmed 2 months before that the great divine director was stepping in. So he stepped in June. And again, I'm amplified. I am amplified. And he talks to me occasionally, and he'll come through in frequency, not in voice. But my life has been this crazy up, down, up, down. And what I understand about most folks is we are begging for our own spiritual evolution, right? We're putting this time, this energy in. We're doing this work to clear what I call energy interference, distortions in your field. And a distortion in your field is an emotional trauma, a physical ailment, right? A distortion in your high frequency. So people will spend a lot of time trying to figure out, where is this emotion coming from? What was the traumatic event? What process do I need to go through to release it? Maybe it's sound therapy, maybe it's Bufo, whatever these things are, for them to release that energy and move into their higher vibrational field. This was happening to me without me doing anything, right? And it sounds like I had a cheat code. But what I've learned is it wasn't so much a cheat code as this was my job, literally. And what I mean by that is, from my incarnation at the soul level, not in the embodiment, I was created to bring in, or to accelerate, the evolution of species. I'm not the only one, so don't look at that from an ego perspective, right? But the team tells me I've done it over 3 billion times. And I come in and I arrive when the collective's ready to move into their next evolution. And I come in to do that massive work of removing those energetic distortions in someone's field in rapid time, right? And this shows up as emotional healing or as physical healing. You're just coming online. But that's not how I see it. We all vibrate high. Every one of us are high vibrational beings. But as we experience our human life and even our soul, distortions come in which lower our field, right? It's like we're this amazing hot air balloon, and these distortions come in like sandbags and lower the balloon. We're still there. Now, as we do our own work, again, through our own process, right? We gently remove these sandbags. We gently come up. Well, this isn't what this divine team does. They rip it out in the now. We are in a 30-year cycle of human evolution. It is compressed. It is accelerated right now. And this is why we see so many distortions in the collective field. Let's say that, right? Whether it's the news articles, whether it be politics, whether it be at the galactic astral level, there are a lot of distortions, right? Because everything's shifting and changing. So the team comes in at an individual level, not necessarily at a collective level. Like, everyone's doing collective work, but the reality is we don't need to focus on the collective. We need to focus on ourselves, right? Because as we focus on ourselves, that adds to the collective. Mm. So they come in, they release the distortions, you heal your body. Now, the way the team says it to me in very simple terms, and they don't give me a lot of details, by the way. They're good for 1 or 2 sentences, and then they stop talking. I'm like, okay, come on.
Straight to light language.
Yeah, straight to light language. And they're like, listen, we're here to give everybody a miracle. I'm like, come on. They're like, no. A miracle is simply defined something positive happening to you without a logical explanation. So no religious overtone there, right? When you have these experiences with the light language, and your shoulder, you had no mobility for 30 years, and all of a sudden it's completely gone, that's a miracle. When you think about it in the idea of something positive happening without a logical explanation, when your posture returns, when that dis-ease is gone, right? Now, one of the things about me is I don't have any medical background. Right? Like, I dabbled in the medical field in my 20s, right? I was a nurse aide for a while, and I did work in a hospital for a little bit. But I don't know anything about how the human body works. I don't know how spirituality works. Like, I know there's a masculine side and a feminine side. I couldn't tell you which are which, right? I couldn't tell you that because your shoulder hurts, you are not moving for. I mean, I just don't know how this is mapped out. And that's beautiful, because that allows me to show up as what the team calls a hollow bone. What is a hollow bone? So when we research the idea of a hollow bone, a lot of people who are really into the spiritual journey, not just, really into it. They want to become this hollow bone so they can just show up and allow the energies to flow through. The way my team explains it is the hollow bone for me is designed so that when you're in front of me, Emilio, right? Your team, your spirit team, your galactic team, your thousands of teams, because we have more than one, right? Need you to receive. But they need a human often to deliver this to you. And this is why we go to group meditations, or why we have these things done to us so that we can receive these activations or these healings from other folks. So your team needs you to receive something. So they work with the divine team I have. Now, the divine team explains it to me, and they do it in like this mechanical way, because this is the logical part of me. It says, listen, your team will say, you need these codes. The divine team, mine, will make sure that those codes have no backdoors, no hooks, no fine print in the contracts, right? Because while we have our teams, not everybody on our spirit team, and not everyone, is 100% in alignment with you. Everybody has an agenda, and that doesn't mean it's a bad word, right? But there's contracts in there. So they remove all of that, and then they uplift it to that high Christ consciousness frequency. They deliver it down through the hollow bone, out through the throat chakra. Now, I wear glasses. I have my own stuff going on. I didn't get healed. And I get frustrated with my team. I'm like, why do I not receive? They're like, because you're a hollow bone, you can't receive like that. Let me explain. The codes that I would need for my own healing are not in the transmissions. And they're not in the transmissions because that doesn't tempt me as a human, right? I want Superman vision. I'm being funny. I love my humor, right? I want to look like this muscle guy. I want all my gray hair gone, which I do. But none of my codes are there, which basically means that I can't interfere. I can't manipulate. I can't intercept. And I'm also not aware of what comes down through this hollow bone, right? Now, the other thing about these transmissions is that your audience, and you've got quite a bit of audience, at some point later in our transmission, we're going to have a little fun. We're going to give everyone, their codes. One transmission delivers everybody their unique codes, even on replay. So it's not as if I'm showing up to say, today, and I love shoulders, we're going to work on your audience, the shoulder. Because everybody will get something different. Some people will get activations, other people will get other things. People will get awareness and knowledge, other team members coming in. Everything's done with this transmission. So I know I rambled on a little bit there, Emilio, but that's kind of the nutshell of who Ken is. I'm a soul infused walk-in with this divine energy in my field, in the cells of my body. But I'm still Ken. I'm still the guy next door.
Wow. So beautiful to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing the details behind the story. I wanted to pull something profound in there that you said when your team told you that you had done this billions of times, showing up at times of ascension for different species. I'm curious to know if you've received any memories of other times you've done this and what outcomes those species have had. Because if we're going through a time of ascension, what's on the other side of that, whenever you came in and then helped raise that frequency?
You've just touched on a sore topic. Let me explain. One of the things that my team insists on, there are no stories. So even though I can show up in front of someone and I can see a story of whatever, if it's shown to me, they don't want me to provide the story. Here's the thing. Us humans, we love the Akashic records as an example, right? Because we can go in there and we can find out what was the reasoning I have this particular trauma, right? And what happens, the human, unfortunately, is now we dive into, well, why was I there? Why was I wearing that? Why was I burned? My God, who are my friends then? So we do this human thing. And the team's here, again, to remove those energetic distortions out of the field. It becomes more difficult when there's a story attached to it. So I don't get stories. I don't get astral travel. I get boring dreams of kitty cats and puppy dogs. I am not aware. Now, I have seen some blimps of some of the missions I've done. I mean, when I say some, like 2 or 3, and that just happened in the past few weeks, where they showed me working on this humanoid species, and their skull would turn green because it's just the way their body was when they received frequencies. That area would just turn this green, which was really interesting. In fact, that was the only thing I realized was happening. But in the scene, it was just mud and dirt and ancient and old, right? And chaotic. And one of the takeaways from that is why we think life is miserable when we just look at it from another perspective for a moment, right? When we look at the world and all of the information out there, we think, the world's ending soon. Go get your gold and silver and stuck it away in a drawer, right? Again, being funny. It's not as bad as you think it is. It really isn't, compared to at least some of those very blips that I've seen. So I say it's a sore topic because I beg for more awareness of what I've done in the past. And they tell me that if I was to show up, even like I did just now, and tell you these stories of all these other experiences, it would absolutely detract from what they're about to receive on this podcast.
Yeah.
So,
beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautifully said.
It's a sore topic. It's a wonderful question, but man.
I love that. And you brought up the word codes a few times now, and I would love to go deeper into, from metaphysical and even energetic, biological perspective as well. What are these codes that we are receiving and that we also give to others in our daily life? When you say codes, and I know you're coming from a cybersecurity background, so I love the connection there. How do you now understand what a code is?
That's a great question, because I was actually asked that in depth just the other day from a friend, and the team will come in and channel at certain times, right? But the way they explain it to me is, so energy is consciousness, okay? Period. All energy has a consciousness to it. But imagine it's a single-celled organism, or a single-celled consciousness, or a consciousness with a single purpose, okay? These codes is that consciousness coming down, moving into your energy field and negotiating with your energy field that says, hey, this energy located in this position in the body, again, the shoulder, we need to dissolve it. We need to remove it, right? So this conscious comes in with the instructions to remove that distortion. Codes. Think of it like that from the computer world, right? It's not a full consciousness coming in to take over the body. It is just a simple piece of code, conscious energy with a consciousness with a purpose. When they come in, they can also come in and turn things on. Remove the fog in the pineal, remove the calcium, if we want to say the calcium deposits, right? Open up the chakras, right? Bring down more of my soul aspect into the physical form. All consciousness. So these codes that come through are simple instructions of consciousness, usually a very simple, again, to use the other word, single cell organism or single instruction set, but they can group together for a larger instruction set. Now, the other thing that they explain to me is they're not really removing the energetic distortions as much as if you build into the idea of the quantum field. They're shifting that piece of you into a quantum field where it doesn't exist. And that's why this shift can happen in real time. They also inform me that the body is recreated 1 billion times a second based on our energetic field. So when that distortion is no longer in your field, your body is recreated without it. And that's why you have that instant shift. Now, it doesn't always happen instantly. Sometimes it's timing, right? But yes. So code, consciousness with energy.
Yeah, we're definitely at a frontier right now of human potential, of the new human, as you mentioned. And also your team has told you that within this next year, there's going to be a massive acceleration of the ascension process. I'm really curious if we could hear from them for a moment around what they truly mean when it comes to this acceleration and what frontier we're on for this new human to be online more fully into this next year or so.
Yeah. Guys, everything is shifting in ways that is ununderstandable from the human perspective. What we mean by this is the energy in your field is being ripped out intensely, not just by us, if you will, but by many other beings, where they realize in order to get to you, and we mean this in a positive light, in order to get you to where you need to be on your own journey, they have to remove everything that's held you down. This is the ascension of the human. It has always been planned. There was a de-ascension of the human thousands and thousands of years ago, and this is the cycling back up. Now, what's happening here is the human at this particular time in their evolution is, well, we'll say a little slow, a little sluggish in change. And this is intentional by forces that have slowed the process down in order to gain a more foothold on the process that's taking place. We'll simply say that control structures are being built in order to navigate the human down a path of others choosing. The 30-year process that we're entering into right now is removing these control structures so that the human can once and finally move into the human. The human themselves is a divine origin, a divine species, a collaboration of a lot of other species into the most divine presentation possible at this time. This is delicious. This is a delicious energy for a lot of other beings. So the divine is stepping in to ensure that the human can once and finally step into their divine presence and overcome those control obstacles. Over the next year, there's going to be a lot more of these control structures pressing hard on your field. There's an internal push, and you'll feel it, the internal push to overcome the information that's in front of you, the information with your eyes, the information with your ears, and to move into the information that's inside of you. The focus right now is to go inside, turn off everything external, and learn what's inside of you, because that divine energy, that divine knowing, that divine purpose inside of you is about to burst open and is going to change your perspective of everything that you realize very close to you and very distant from you. The time is now. Yes, it's a 30-year cycle to evolve the human into the carbon structure, into the crystalline structure. But don't worry about that process. The only thing you need to worry about or focus on is you. You are the most important thing in this universe right now. Go find out who you are. Okay.
What are the greatest distortions that humanity is moving away from within these next 30 years, as they just mentioned?
So the way that they say it, and I don't mean to raise red flags, right? This isn't that kind of conversation, but humanity, there's a land grab for the consciousness of humanity right now. Okay. We talk about all the ETs that are coming in and all the government programs. And again, we're not going down that rabbit hole. I am not here for that energy. Simply stated, not everything in our field and our awareness is for the highest potential of the individual. And the divine is coming in to say, hey, everyone, this is wonderful, nice and shiny out there. What you really need is inside of you. So you can, it's beautiful to be associated with this starseed species, because you absolutely are. All right. But you're more than that. That was just an experience. You're more than that. And the divine is coming in to say, recognize you're more than just that label. Right. And stop seeking that external validation in wholeness, not to stop seeking it completely, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. Right? Discover who you are inside. And then you'll rise up and you'll be able to enjoy your starseed lineage, all of the starseed lineages, without having to be in service to a particular starseed lineage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, not identifying with that one thread. We're everything.
There's no negative here at all, right? It's just there's more than you're being allowed to be aware of at the moment.
Yeah. I know in the beginning we were talking about how really it's not so much about this collective shift, but focusing on the internal personal shift. You've talked about the ripple effect, and I would love to go deeper into how you understand that energetically when one person starts opening themselves up to their evolution, to their codes, to this ascension process. What is happening? What is rippling out outside of them when they do that?
So we'll start at the basics. You walk into a room and you got a grumpy person in there. What happens to the room? They all turn a little grumpy, right? But the same thing when you walk into the room and you got such an amazing person over with this massive smile, this massive energy, and they're the life of the room, the whole room kind of shifts up. So think of that as the concept of the ripple effect. Now, we talked earlier about consciousness and energy, codes, if you will. Well, these are in your field. As you, as a person, move through society, now, whether that be a spiritual society, whether that be internally, whatever, you are emanating these codes. And what happens here is when you have another individual, whether it be distant or in person, who is ready to receive that particular code or program, it ripples into them with permission, right? And not the human permission, with the higher self, the upper self permission. Like, okay, we're ready for this person to have the activation that you received. Moves out. And the reasoning this is done is, again, to remove the control structure. Now, imagine if all of us had to go to a certain person to receive only that activation from person X, right? And that person X says, you know what? I don't think you're worthy, right? That's a problem. So the ripple effect is designed to move the evolution of the human in the masses. So the more that awaken, the more get it. And by the way, this is the same thing with the DNA. As somebody had asked me the other day, what is the percentage of the population that have the 24th chromosome turned on? And they came through and said 0.5%. Kind of a low number. Now, my mission is global, all right? Doesn't matter that not even go term. I just know this, right? But that doesn't mean I'm going to touch everybody. But when somebody has these codes, again, the 24th chromosomes turned on, and you meet them, again, virtually in person, and you're ready for it, you receive those. So the ripple effect, humans activating humans without intention.
You said there, when they're ready for it. And I would love to explore that a little bit because, we always hear that quote, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. For you, what determines whether a person becomes ready to receive these codes?
It's not the person. And that's the unfortunate piece. So even me, I struggle with my team. Like, I had a couple of visions of things that were going to happen. And some things have happened, but they hadn't been consistent. And I'm like, hey, where are they? I'm ready for them. Give it to me. And they're like, no. And what I find is that when it comes to physical healing, right, I can have, 1,000 people in the room and everyone receives, and by the way, so I'm an old data guy, right? So I'm like, okay, I got a 98% efficiency rate. This is the silly Ken inside of me, right? I'm like, what happened to that 2%? Why did that 2% not receive the thing that they should have received? It's because, one, they haven't released the story, right, of why it took place. I have this relationship trauma because Joey the jerk, treated me bad. I'm never going to forgive Joey the jerk. More importantly, I'm never going to forgive myself. So they hold that. And there's also the human aspect that says, if I hold this trauma, then I have a story to tell others about how bad it was for me. So that the human aspect of them not being ready because they're not ready to release. But then there's also a timing aspect. So you could be emotionally healed. But even for me, like, I was 47 when my event happened. And I'm 7 years into this. Don't do the math, folks. Okay, so I'm 7 years into this, right? And I'm still not fully activated. I'll never be fully activated. But I can't get things there's a timing issue, right? So as I show up to more and more people, my body vibrates more, and more of these divine energies move into my field. Again, tools in a toolbox, right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to show up unless they have a job to do at the time they have the job to do it. Well, the same thing with our own evolution, right? We may not be ready to step into that 24th chromosome. We may not be ready to step into the bliss or the financial abundance for things beyond our own understanding, right? Timing is not controlled by the human, it's controlled by the upper self or the higher self, as well as the collective. Because even for me, some of the things that I know are coming with the delivery mechanism has been delayed because the collective has been slowed down, as we heard in the earlier transmission, right? Mm-hmm. So as the collective gets ready to witness these abilities, not just in me, but in thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
The 4-minute mile.
Yeah, right.
The 100th monkey effect that you talked about.
The 100 monkey effect. There are things that are coming in my reality. And again, I have experienced them in Tulum, and I won't talk about them, but I've experienced them. And I'm like, why did that happen? They're like, well, when the human sees another human doing something, okay, it shifts their perception of, oh, well, that is possible. And then another and another, and then the 100 monkey, which is the exact terms they use for me. Then the 100 monkey effect takes over. And the entire society begins this new behavioral patterning, this new ability, if you will.
An emergent consciousness.
Yes, absolutely. And this is what's coming. And it's coming in the next few years. You're going to see, the team tells me there are thousands and thousands of gifts, and call it what you want, gifts is a word, abilities in the human structure that have never been written down in a book before. These are coming online. We talk about telepathy, we talk about telekinesis, levitation, you name it, right? They're like, no, there's so much more. So much more, because every one of us is unique. And we will show up in a very unique way, which then, again, we will surpass and they're telling me this now, when we look at our history books and the other transmissions of things that have happened in Atlantis, that the human consciousness and them, we are going to far surpass that in a very rapid way. So interesting. And I have no idea the context behind it. That's what they do. They come in with 1 or 2 sentences and they're like, okay, we're done.
Just drop it in there, drop the mic and leave.
Yeah.
I wrote down here, there's a difference between learning a new skill and having a gift come online. I've also had experiences where I've gone in with groups, and this happened to me in Egypt, where a lot of people in that group were activated just spontaneously, like you, and they didn't learn this new skill. It's like it immediately merged back into their system, and then they were able to do it like if they were doing it since they were 2 years old. Yeah. What is that? What is that remembrance that we're tuning into?
It's for me, it's not a remembrance, it's a knowing. Now, it's interesting this question comes up, right? Because I want to do more things. Like, okay, forget, I can't move the pencil across the table. I can't do telekinesis, right? But I've got a book in front of me that's going to show me, right? Now, I had a reading done on me, and I don't do that often. But I do place people in my field that can access my energy. And one, make sure there's no yuckies in me. Yuckies is darkness, call it what you want. I need to make sure I'm a clean vessel, right? I need to make sure that when I show up, nothing coming out of my mouth is an untruth. So I have very specific people placed in my path to monitor me, to watch me. This is an old business tactic I used, right? I ask 3 people the same question. If I get the same answer, then I know I'm okay. Same thing with business. So I actually had a reading done the other day from an individual, and it says, hey, obviously check me for yuckies, but she's like, listen, you're trying too hard. Because she's like, listen, that book you got, I didn't tell her about the book. She was like, that book you got, throw it away. They said, everything comes on for you in divine timing, right? Period. Right? So
there's nothing that we can do to accelerate it.
There is, and that is doing our own inner work to be ready for the timing of when it shows up, right? Simply meaning that had I not had that trauma release event, I wouldn't be here. Had I not done the human piece of the heavy metal detox for 6 months, I had all the metal in my mouth removed, right? Like these are the intuition things. Had I not done that, no, I wouldn't have been ready, and I would have missed that timeline, which would have been delayed. So all we can do is do the human aspect of the inner work. Let me deal with my emotions, right? Let's get the body healed, because one of the things that I have found over and over and over is that when we are in physical distress and emotional distress, We have those mental thought loops of how unfortunate life has been or how it is right now. We can't move into the receptive state. When you have pain all through your body, how hard is it to meditate? How hard is it to stay in this high vibrational state? So we have to do that work. We also have to make those big decisions in life to remove the things that are holding us down. Sometimes it's easy just to show up every day with that grumpy person, right? But that grumpy person no longer has a purpose for you. And the lesson here is you have to make those tough decisions, move into the unknown so you can be in that receptive state. So yes, there are things to do. Now, for me, it was done for me through my trauma event. I didn't ask for that. I went to a psychic once at a psychic fair in my 20s, right? That was it. I didn't ask for it, but now I understand why. And now I understand also why that first soul aspect was behind the scenes, helping me learn how to do the human things to be ready for what Spirit's ready to give me. So yes, I've gone through detox, retox, and I'm getting ready to go back into detox. These funny cycles we go through. But I had to make those life changes. I had to go through the divorce. I had to unload everything I used to be. Now, not everyone has to do that depth. I'm not giving advice here, folks, right? Use your own internal guidance. But if you have a job that makes you horrible every day, think about shifting. Think about shifting so you can show up every morning like I do with an amazing smile on my face is, who do I get to touch today? That drives me. So yeah, there are things we can do.
Yeah. I'm also really curious to know why we create these human stories in the first place. If they're holding us back and keeping us in these distortions, what is the need to have a story behind everything that happens to us?
They're telling me right now it's conditional programming from the beginning. It has been conditional programming from the beginning of the human civilization. It's been a control structure the entire time. A lot of the other species who evolve rapidly don't have these stories, but they're also connected. They're connected. They don't have the veil, right? We're walking around in the fog all day long trying to figure out what's happening. And I mean a fog, I meant the fog between the veil of spirituality and who am I as a human, right? It's been a control structure the whole time. The experience, the experiment, right? It's another word they're using because I think people can identify with some stories about the human being an experiment for a moment. Again, we're not going down a rabbit hole. We're not enforcing or confirming, but that concept, right, of what is it like to have free will without a connection to the divine. All we have are the memories, the stories, right? Had we had a connection from the beginning, we wouldn't necessarily need to have, all those tribal stories passed on from tribe to tribe to tribe to tribe to tribe to tribe. We would all be connected automatically and have them. So again, conditional programming of human behavior through the ages.
It's part
that
of
was all done, by the way.
Yeah, it was part of, I mean, they said really specifically that humanity went through a De-Ascension.
Mm-hmm. That was the fall of Atlantis, right? And identical Mary. And I don't know the stories, because they won't let me. All I know is that personally for me, I show up once before the ascension to kind of, and they're like, this is what you're doing your recon work. I show up what it's like
warming up.
You warming up to have the experience and to have the trauma. And then I show up a second time in embodiment when they say when embodiments evolve, because not every species has an embodiment, right? They can still be just consciousness and they're evolving too. So I kind of handle the whole resume apparently. But so I show up for recon once and then I come in to do the work, right? And I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
What part of being human has been the most challenging for you to integrate after you had all of these massive activations and upgrades?
I feel disconnected from the human experience, right? And one of the things that I have to learn is the human experience, right? So my joy, my passion and excitement is right now in this moment with you, right? But when I get off this call, I'm going to sit here twiddling my thumbs like, okay, what does Ken need to do now? I don't mean the task list, right? So I have difficulty experiencing excitement, like, roller coaster excitement. Sure, I'll smile and I'll giggle, but then it's instantly done, right? The excitement of life experiences, I have to learn what that is. Yes. Yeah. So
But you had
yeah,
that before your experience.
I kind of didn't. And I never understood why. Like I was an extreme introvert, by the way. Like I made the comment, I did this code in my pajamas, in the bedroom. And, literally the first piece of software that I learned to write, by the way, that was a bet from a friend. I dare you to write software. I'm like, okay. The first piece I wrote became AOL's anti-spyware eliminator, later acquired by Earthlink, in my pajamas, right? So extreme introvert. I was so extreme that I had no confidence in what I was doing. And when I would have an email, hey, Ken, how does this work? I wrote the stuff. I would get terrified. Now, when my event took place, all that was gone. I can show up in front of 1,000 people with zero stage fright, zero anxiety, zero anything, complete shift, right? Now, I'm not sure how I got into that topic. By the way, when we're in conversation, I'm up there and I'm dropping in. And I'm up there and I'm dropping in. So if I miss point, please let me know.
Not at all. Not at all. And I'm really excited because you beautifully offered to share this experience of an activation, of transference of codes, however we want to call this. And that this transmission, this experience is going to help whoever needs it at the moment they need it, with whatever intention they're bringing. So I was just thinking about it, not going in with any specific intention, but my own, and then everyone else, really being intentional of what they want to receive. How would you think would be the best way to approach it?
Well, the way I call this free form, by the way. And what I tell people in my events, that just take a moment and ask your team what it is that you desire, and do it without description. Like, don't tell them you want to win the lottery on a Tuesday when it's above a certain number, and only if no one else is going to win it. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Right. But focus on the body, focus on emotions, focus on those things that you really want to shift. And then I want you to release it. I want you to drop into your heart, and I want you to find that memory that brings that smile to your face, ear to ear, grin to grin, and just focus on that and forget what you just asked for. Nella moleara toreare chilo to cora malere and chinita galero cora malere to shikoro galero can into the barcanero can reach can into Calabana shikoro barcamalera calera can you go to go taking a malera calera calera chinita go to the barcanera calamalera over to the show to get Maikia. Can malera cari go to go to malero calamanero to the barcamalero to Yamako chiniti go to Shakamalero or chinitiki mitikino to Kao could it chinitica ocomarucho to Kito Kariataka. I am a okushi kotika pukuchikiti and nari arato. Nana mamaleria arateriara to rashi korata karia mamalea shiro toko. Mushoto take to katato ticket Shalamalero Oriatoko. Natarina Carrera Carriera Parcoci, Shinoto Kama, Reti, Shilinia, Nakori, Ratkina Carriarto. I am Nieto Shanako, Bokuna Kielaka, Okunbrieti Kiri Kirietako, Shukoto Kariataka, Mopoto to Shakata, Ayanaria, Nodorian, Duno, Shielaro, Torio, Romali, Dionoto, Shakia, Rotorio, Kono Shakia, Ashalama Malere Arania Natako. La mamalera tiania naraleshi, nara mamaloria nariani, ala maleara roshiroto, ayanato korioto ka nitoko te kia matakere te kidiota kore aku, mibishu no toko de kamaka, aishinaka. Toshokoto kapako te kia mapaka oku, Kumoko akiaka. We're done. You come out of that when you're ready.
Wow.
Right? like
Whoa.
Wow.
There was even some singing in there, if you noticed.
Yeah, I call that light language karaoke. It took me a while.
I was moving to it. I was bumping it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh God, guys, karaoke.
Wow.
But yeah.
Wow.
So every one of those tones and the speed differences and the shifts that you'll hear are the different divine aspects popping into the body, delivering and popping out. Right? Because the vessel can't hold the entirety of what's in there. And, you know, back in February, I had a reading done on me where the person says, listen, Ken, and these are just aspects. You have 16 ascended master aspects. You have 15 archangels and 10 Christed ETs in your field. I'm like, what's a Christed ET? A Christed ET is that divine lineage of the 10 primary species we're dealing with right now. It is their version of an ascended master. And they come in and clean your codes of those distortions of that DNA lineage of your own. So that was back in February. And now I merged with an omni-consciousness stream of divine intelligence, if you will. So everything and anything that's needed is always available. And I have no idea what's coming through the hollow bone. Like, I don't know what you received. Yeah. Right. And every one of your audience will have a different, oh my gosh, moment. And then there'll be a few people out there that are just like, what's wrong with this guy? We get them as well. And it's okay.
It's all right. We need the skeptics too. We do. I'm wondering if you could guide us into the Library of Creation for a moment, into one of the rooms of activation that you help people go into, maybe explaining first of all what that even is.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the Library of Creation. So again, I'm here for this global presence, and I can't be everywhere at any time, nor should I be. Simply in the idea that no one person is supposed to control anything, right? So what the library does, the Library of Creation is now available for the human because the collective frequencies reached a point where new tools come online. We're going to see this with a lot of modalities, you know, Reiki 5 or 6 as an example, whatever these are, new attunements coming in. Well, the Library of Creation is just that. It's a library of all creation, all universes, all consciousnesses, every reality you have ever been in. And they tell me that when a species wants to do DNA upgrades, they will go into the library to discover what they need for their own species. The library has everything. When we move through our own scientific experiments and our scientific evolvement, right, there are people who will take others into the library to get that piece of information they need to complete their project. Everything's already there in the library. Now, I haven't accessed that just yet, but the Library of Creation is a place where you go to get access to the codes I have access to. So think of it like this. When the team and I are in front of you, let's call it a intense moment, right? Like you're going to have that intense shift. And again, I'm picking on shoulders. Your shoulder might have 100 different reasons it's feeling like it is. You know, you got 12 past lives, you got 6 ancestors, you got some curses, you got some darkness, you got some emotions, you know, you have all these other things. And when we go through our personal journey, we're going to go do a QHAT session to find out why the shoulder hurts. And again, I'm just paraphrasing. We're going to go do some sound therapy or some drum circles. We're going to go do some ayahuasca. We're going to go do some emotional therapy healing. We're going to try to figure out what are those different things. And eventually, guess what? It heals. When my team comes in, they're doing that removal of everything at once, right? So they're like I call it heavy construction equipment. They're coming in and they're pulling it all out at once. I have another friend calls me the lightning. Lightning's hitting your field and just blowing the distortions out. Wonderful. But what does the library do for you? So the library is built on the concept of rooms. You'd go into a room, and we're going to go into a room twice. I want to give everyone an experience. We're going to go into the room of karma. Okay?
Ooh.
It'll be fun.
My favorite room.
Favorite room. So when you go into this room, the way they explain it to me, and again, this is the old computer guy, because this is, fortunately how I work. The room is a projector. Your upper self, your higher self, is projecting your visualization into the room. Okay? And when you're in the room and you see the image, the visualization, and yes, the library does require just a little visualization. If you can't visualize dinner, you might have a little difficult time with this process, but you go in there, you'll see what you need to visualize. Now, as you interact with the visualization, you remove the thing, you use a vacuum, you use whatever creativity you want. You're actually telling the library to bring down those codes of consciousness, energy, to shift your field from what it was to what it needs to be. All right? It's a way for you to access your energy field in real time. Now, the library is a little slower than my team, simply in the idea that you may have to go into other rooms as well. Like if you're going to work on your shoulder, you might go into the viewing room of your past lives. In the viewing room of your past lives, it's a theater room. And you'll say, show me the past lives that are responsible for the shoulder, but show them to me on the TV in front of me, blurred and out of focus, right? TVs will show up. A lot of them will show up, and they're all the ones that had a past life situation with the shoulder. And then the TVs will start turning off and disappearing. Now, ironically, I did an experiment with one of my groups. I said, okay, well, let's go to the viewing room of your past lives and show them to you in high def, not blurred and out of focus. And it scared the living daylights out of most of the people because they were able to witness the trauma taking place as an observer view. So we don't do that. Now, maybe a past life might be the ancestor, right? You might have to go into the room of your self-limiting beliefs. Different rooms for different conditions. Now, so the library gives you access to the same codes that my team does, but you get to control the process. And it's done via a simple question. Okay. So we're going to go into the room of karma. Let me paint the room for you first. Now, it's important to allow your own imagination to control this. You are in control. Everyone's going to see it a little different. But the way we set this up is if you can imagine a white hallway. Okay? No windows, no doors. But at the very end of it, it's just kind of a void. You are going to be at one end of the hallway. And in front of you, you're going to see this orange ball floating. It's going to be about the size of a soccer ball. It has the consistency of a thirsty sponge. Okay? So that's the room setup. Now let me give you the attunement codes so we can get access. And then in your own mind's eye, your own quietly, simply say, take me to the library of creation. Please take me to the room of karma. And then visualize that white hallway, no features. And you or your hologram or just the floating ball at the one end. And then say these words quietly or aloud, your choice. Please show me the past life karma that I am serving now. Please show this karma to me as thick goo dripping from the ceiling and puddling on the floor like the consistency of honey now. And as that room populates, you're going to take that orange ball and you're going to mop up, soak up, absorb, or whatever comes to mind. And I want you to clean the room. Gently move down the hallway. And when that hallway is clear, allow that orange ball to disappear and pop out the end. Milera will support you. Moposhio ko na ako na tao shio ko. Nyata anoto a shi iloroto. And when you're done, Emilio, just open your eyes. No rush. Take your time. Okay. Is there anything you want to explain to the audience what your visualization process might have been?
Well, I was visualizing exactly what you were describing, and this is a specific situation that I'm moving through in my life is what I sort of visualize, but understanding what the core root of that is, and as you said, mopping it up. So it was very visualization for me as well, and
Right.
I feel a lot lighter now.
Yeah, right. We're going to do it again. We're going to use different words, but here's the thing. What the library allows you to do is to see what's dripping is what's coming in. What's puddled is what's you're actually dealing with right now. Okay. Now, the library allows you to do this work without having to figure out, well, what does that string represent? Or what does this puddle mean? Like, you don't have to do any of that. Now, we're going to go into it again with a different type of karma. All right. So just kind of close your eyes again. And reset the room is what I call it. So again, it's a beautiful white hallway and that orange ball floating. Mishikaro Toria. And then we repeat these words. Please show me the deluding karma that's impacted me at this time. Please show me this deluding karma as sticky goo dripping from the ceiling and puddling on the floor now. Karamalero to konoshe kama kina te karo to koredo kanita kishina ka no te no te kama kone kini to kishina ke te koro to ko koshiki ka pakuro shina ta. And again, soak that up and move the process at your own time using whatever tools you need. Was it different for you?
Yeah. I love the goo analogy because you don't have to know exactly what is that thread. It's just an energy. And then it paints the picture of what's going on, and then you can intentionally remove it or clean it.
Sometimes that ball will get bigger, right? Or more balls will show up. But for you, what did it look differently? This is just for the audience.
The ball in specific?
Well, no, just the visualization. How did it show up different?
The visualization. I actually, when I removed it very differently this time. So it was more like I was swiping my hand away and like clearing it with my hand. And it felt like liquidy. So it felt very like fluid, like a memory. Because usually our memories aren't 100% factual. Right. So that's why it's so fluid.
Perception of what took place. So
exactly.
I had to Google the word deluding when they told me this.
Deluding, yeah.
It is the karma that's interfering with your spiritual growth. Right? So the reason I like this exercise is because we don't know that word. And it can show up very organic. But anyways, in other rooms, you would be, show me the trapped emotions in my body that are, whatever. There's a room of trauma, which I love. We're not going to get into it, but the room of trauma, you go in there and there's a cardboard box on the floor and an open window, blue sky, white room. And you'll say, please show me the object that represents the trauma, the childhood trauma, the trauma that keeps me from having a good relationship, right? Now, the beautiful part of this is that when we have trauma, we really do our best to suppress the memory, right? Yeah. And lose the memory, even though it's still in our field. Well, the object, your subconscious is putting all the mapping of all that energy into that object. And that object, you're going to give it love and forgiveness, not because of what happened, but because you're loving and forgiving yourself, now you can release it. Now, when that happens, you're releasing all that trauma without ever having to remember anything. Right. So, library creation. I'll be releasing that fully in February at the LA Conscious Expo.
I think I'll be there. I'll be there.
For sure. I'll be there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll be there.
A couple free workshops and such. But yeah, that'll be the release, the official release of it.
Yeah, we're planning some live podcasts over there, so I'm excited to see. Yeah, let's do it. Awesome, Ken. Well, we end every show with a segment called the Final Trio. Before we get into that, I would love to give you the space to tell us where people can find you, go deeper with you, work with you in your work. Anything else that you would like to mention in that regard?
So kenlloydofficial.com. Now, /free, right? Listen, my team is here to give away a lot of stuff, and I do. I really, really do. But if you go to the /free, there's going to be a free energy clearing for you. Right? You can use all you want and it'll shift your day almost instantly. If you had the experience now, just recently, you understand the impact of that. Now, my social media, kenlloyd.official for all my socials. And in there, I'm dropping codes all the time. Like I'm always doing reels, dropping light language to shift you. So free stuff all day long. Now, I also do a distant healing. Every Monday, there's a distant healing option you can do. There is Wednesday nights, I do my events. We did an event, the miracle event, this Sunday, that was 2.5 hours of hundreds and hundreds of people in there getting these events. And then everything I do is in my catalog. I have over 400 things in the catalog. So you don't have to wait for me. Like, if you have something that resonates with you in the catalog, you can go there. But listen, the way this works, you just got to show up. It doesn't matter if you're showing up on the kenlloyd.official socials and receiving, or if you're all in it going to every event. You're always getting what your team wants you to have and shifting you. So you just got to put the human effort in.
Yeah, love that. We'll definitely link that in the description. And for the final trio, these last questions are personalized to each guest. The first one I had for you is, if we look 30 years ahead, what does daily life feel like for a crystalline, embodied human?
Life doesn't have a worry anymore. You'll have worries in the idea of your daily habits and daily processes, but those worries are just moments to act upon and moments to do something with. They're not worries that strangle you. They're not worries that stay forever. They come and they go and you move on. You'll be able to move through life recognizing who is in vibration with you at whatever time. You'll also be able to move through life shifting everything in your life in real time. You will be empowered to live the life and the reality that you want without having to beg and ask for it from the spirit, because you are the spirit. You will be in full control of everything that you're asking for at this moment. No more begging. You'll have control of your reality in real time.
And you said that as we raise our frequency, new tools from the universe will come online. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if there is one tool that your team and yourself would like to leave with us today, what would it be?
So one of the things my team doesn't have is process, but there is one thing that everyone asks is, how do I connect with my higher self, right? One of the things that we need to have awareness of is, who are we talking to, right? Mm-hmm. Is that voice giving us like instructions, like you aren't, you should, you could have, that's probably not the higher self having a conversation with you. So the way the team tells me is that if you visualize above your head this golden orb about 6 inches, about the size of a baseball, you drop into your heart and you say these words: I wish to connect to the highest of the high that is in 100% alignment with me, my mission, and my purpose. And as you set that intent, you'll bring that orb down through the crown and over the heart. You'll take a breath in, and on that breath out, you'll expand that orb all around you. then begin your meditation and your dialogue. You are now in the energy and the consciousness of the higher self, the one thing that'll never distract you or veer you off course. So that's how they tell me to connect to the one thing you know will always have your truth.
And it's interesting, you said that the orb will come down into your heart and then you're ready to have that conversation. Would that mean that our higher self is housed or expresses through our heart rather than the brain?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely through the heart. It's always through the heart. The brain is just an organ. The heart is everything. But when you set the intention to bring that down over the heart, what you're doing is creating an energetic consciousness pathway to allow that communication to be, well, kind of encrypted as well, secured. Again, this is the computer guy in me.
Upgrading the operating system, the iOS.
System, yes.
Last question I have for you today. I'm sure we'll do this many, many more times, Ken. Thank you so much. What do you now trust so fully that you once doubted in your journey?
My awareness of the knowings. So let me explain. I can walk into a room and I don't connect to anybody. I don't have that empathic. They turned it off. They said it'd be too much, right? So I'm just a guy hanging out. But the moment that you connect to me and say, hey, let's do this, I'm tapped in. And they will bring in information that I need to be aware of, where I need to go, what I need to do, what's happening with them. They'll bring in transmissions and channels and information for them. And for the longest time, I had doubts of what was coming out of my mouth. In fact, I would hold it back because I'm like, oh, it's kind of crazy. But and it took years, but the validation from the people I've interacted with has been spot on every single time without doubt, right? When I look at what I was intuiting or they were telling me years ago about what would happen to me, the size of the mission and such, right? Again, I look at what's happening to me right now, and not a single thing that has ever been shared with me has been inaccurate. Everything for me comes inside of my chest, right? Like I don't tap in and channel in the way, like I get information and repeat it. Like it comes out of my mouth, and now I have so much confidence in knowing I'm okay with it. Like I'm allowing myself to be that channel, and I'm allowing myself to recognize, well, I'm not crazy. Because in the beginning, you're like, what's going on? But yeah, I trust in everything at this point. And that's a lot to say for a human trusting something they can't see, touch, feel.
Well, brother, I just wanted to acknowledge you for that full surrender that you gave into to serve this mission and assist us in this collective ascension. It's such an honor to be able to be with you. I am, again, very sure that we're going to be doing many, many more of these co-creations and collaborations together, brother. So excited for that, and sending you so much love. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on, and the team.
Always. Thank you.